the Irish Guy, and this video is sponsored by Manscaped. Yeah, I know. Again. Right, it's the summer now, right? So, some of you might be flying off to family holidays to the beaches of Estonia, and some of you will be trying to romance a crab on the beach in Magaluf. And some of you will be too busy kicking over sandcastles and throwing ice cream cones at toddlers. You know, just your typical Nelson Muntz. But lads, don't forget, when you're at the beach, you don't want to look like you've got a mini Wolverine hiding in your shorts. But right now, let me just show you how to trim your pubic hair. Oh, it just brings back memories of my uncle in the shed. I mean, yeah, I know what you're thinking. Right now, you feel like barfing in your mouth. I mean, this is about as awkward a chat as when your mum tries to tell you about the time you were conceived on the couch.
I don't need to know that you're watching Bridget Jones' Diary with a glass of wine. Please stop talking.
But back to the topic. Don't worry, the great people at Manscaped can stop you looking like you've got a Harry Styles wig in your shorts. Manscaped has their Performance Package 4.0 to keep you looking nice and tidy. Go to manscaped.com and use the Irish code 20 for 20% off and free shipping. Inside this package, you'll find the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, the Weed Whacker and Nose Hair trimmer, Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant, Crop Reviver Toner, Performance Briefs, and a nice little travel bag to hold everything in it. I mean, the Lawnmower 4.0, it's waterproof and features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. I mean, we don't exactly want your sink covered in blood. It's got a 7,000 RPM motor, a new multi-function on-off switch, and gives you the ability to turn the 4000K LED spotlight on and off when needed for a more precise shave. So go on, 20% off and free shipping when you use the code IrishGuy20 at checkout. Back into the video. Hello, I am the Irish Guy, and I speak for the rest of the footballing world when I say Newcastle United, do something? I mean, yeah, maybe Sunderland fans, if you ask them what they thought of the Newcastle United takeover, they'd probably burst into tears and contemplate whether or not to stick a toaster in their mouth. Honestly, for those poor old bedraggled fans, now try to imagine the most hated rivals being the richest club in the world. It's probably about as nice to imagine what it'd be like to clean Mr. Bean's crotch in an airport toilet. Honestly, the last time Sunderland fans laid eyes on Newcastle in the flesh, the Geordies were getting relegated to the Championship, while they had Sam Allardyce doing fist bumps on the pitch. Honestly, Sunderland were in such a good state then that the English national team were nicking their manager. I mean, so seeing Newcastle now, it's a bit like having that one guy at school you didn't like. The pompous kid who at lunchtime, you would gladly have thrown scrambled egg in their face. It's a bit like turning up to that school reunion and finding out that they've since won the lottery and now live in a 6-bed mansion with Maggie Smith. I mean, just like Wayne Rooney, he likes them old. But right now, Newcastle are just being too sensible. I mean, this was an insane mega money takeover. We were expecting this club to try and stick a spoon into the sport and ripping up the fabrics of the elite. We were expecting this club to be waving a blank paycheck and ripping out the biggest stars in world football from the biggest clubs. And you know, annoying the Super League giants. In reality, the club's business in the transfer market has been about as exciting as watching Niles Crane have a haircut. I mean, they've made 8 transfers this year. Yeah, 1 came from a team in the Champions League, 1 came from a team in the Europa League. The rest, 1 was bought from Aston Villa's bench, 2 were dragged in from Burnley, another 1 came from Brighton, and the most recent one, halfway down the French league. These are good players, good transfers, but it is so sensible and boring. I almost feel the skin melting off my face. I'm sorry, this is like somebody winning the Euro Millions lottery. And instead of throwing parties and buying Lamborghinis off the internet, the guy just instead invests in a low yields bond and continues to buy his dinner with food stamps. I mean, the type of boring old man who thinks he's living large to buy £12 slippers and indulging with the vegetable pie. Listen, I can't even criticize Newcastle because the signings they've made are clever. They're being smart. This is not an ownership ready to piss money up the wall of big fat names. I mean, I think it's credit to them that they managed to steer clear of Eden Hazard. I mean, let's be real, he must have been tempting. I mean, last Halloween, I was convinced.
Newcastle's first signing of the new era will be Eden Hazard. Remember this tweet?
Yeah, all this tweet is done now. It just makes me look like I spend every night shoving chunks of pizza up my nose. This man is another world superstar. I mean, can you imagine the hype in Newcastle? A football hotbed of the world. If a £100 million Galactica walked through the door, this man utterly ripped the Premier League apart for 7 years. I mean, go back to 2019 when Hazard was scoring 20 own goals for Chelsea, while Newcastle were still trying to beat goals out of Dwight Gale. I'm guessing right then, the majority of the Geordies would have gladly made love to their mum in a car if it guaranteed Hazard one day moving to the club. But again, the reality is that Hazard would have broken record shirt sales at Newcastle, yes. But, I mean, he's clearly now someone who just eats chicken wings and popcorn for breakfast. I mean, go inside the Real Madrid changing rooms, and I guarantee his locker is filled to the brim with Maltesers, Skittles, and packets of hunky-dory. I mean, money has just filled his soul with just cheese and chocolate ice cream. I mean, he's probably someone who slips the canteen lunch lady 20 quid just to sneak him a bucket of chicken goujons in the toilet. I mean, when we think of the Real Madrid canteen etiquette, sure, the rest of the squad are probably sitting at the table eating salads for lunch. This guy is most likely in the car park eating soggy pancakes out of a trough. Give the Geordies a marquee number 9. Yes, Callum Wilson is fine. A bit like how having stew on your birthday is fine. I mean, you're not exactly going to be dancing around the room excited to chew on something that tastes like plastic carrot. He is a decent 30-year-old Premier League goal scorer. The modern day answer to Darren Bent. Clinical in front of goal and has scored for England, but lads, he's got a body made of straw. Honestly, he's just a Premier League scarecrow. This season will be his 8th season as a Premier League centre forward, and he's only ever hit double digits in the league twice, and this is someone who does take penalties. 2 brilliant seasons. Other than that, he's just a 6 to 8 goal a season striker. That's it. And to think he was once a £75 million target for Chelsea. Can you imagine if he'd taken the number 9 shirt at Stamford Bridge? I mean, the curse would have swallowed him whole within 20 minutes of the medical. I mean, Craig's, well, he'd probably just twisted his ankle, buttering himself a slice of toast in the car. Honestly, his entire spell at Chelsea would have been like the plot of Final Destination. Don't get me wrong, he is a good player, but lads, a 20-year-old Daniel Sturridge was a fearsome, ferocious striker and a better player. And yet, City were happy to immediately upgrade and replace him with Tevez and Emmanuel Adebayor. I mean, a bit of a shame really. Can you imagine peak 2014 Sturridge playing up front in that Man City team alongside Aguero? I mean, just put Sturridge in instead of Alvaro Negredo, and seeing him whip out the dance in a Man City shirt and playing in Emmanuel Pellegrini. Honestly, Sturridge and Aguero, potentially one of the greatest strike partnerships that never was. But Newcastle need a superstar centre forward, not someone who's still nowhere near as good as peak Jermaine Defoe. If I were the owners, I would have tried to buy Romelu Lukaku this summer. Newcastle fans are the type who love a striker so much. I mean, they were worshipping at the feet of Salman Rondon. So Lukaku, oh, they'd been queuing outside his mansion at 4 AM, desperate to kiss his feet. Honestly, poor old Adam Pearson would probably have taken to hiding in his bin, sniffing out empty cartons of milk. Just anything to get close to this man.
Oh my god, it's actually happening. Eddie Howe's stopping for the fans. Oh my god, this has got to be the greatest thing ever.
I mean, honestly, I'm not even joking. This is the type of child who would spend 21 hours waiting outside his house to take a selfie with his dog. Honestly, lads, this guy waited 13 hours just to get a selfie with Eddie Howe. Lads, let's play a bit of a power prank. Everyone, for a laugh, just go over there and make this kid's day. Go over and subscribe to Adam Pearson. Lads, if he gets 10k subscribers in a day, I think we might actually see this boy's brain melt out his ears. Come on, lads, he wastes hours and hours of his life queuing outside the training ground. Go on. I just want to see what he does. Go over and subscribe. I mean, people say he's not suited to the Premier League. Oh, I suppose he just scored those 120 Premier League goals by accident then. Lads, he's got more Premier League goals than Mo Salah. He's just 2 behind Dwight York. He's only 13 goals behind Robin van Persie. Don't give me this nonsense that he can't hack the Premier League when he's got nearly 10 goals more than Ian Wright. I don't care who he is. If someone has 20 more Premier League goals than Cristiano Ronaldo, then I think it's safe to say they can score goals in this league. I mean, right now the club are linked with Marco Asensio from Real Madrid. To me, he just stinks of Albert Luque. I mean, the children out there won't remember who he was. I mean, for most of you, trying to rack your brains to remember who Luque was, it'd be like trying to remember the plot of Lost. I don't know, something about polar bears and a hobbit with a beard. Honestly, Luque is someone I haven't thought about since 2006. But rest assured, he was a big name Spanish superstar who went to England and had the impact of a poo in a handbag. He was supposed to be the original Fernando Torres, and instead was outshone by Michael Chopra, who again was about as much use as a dead skin sandwich. I look at the Manchester City takeover, and like Newcastle, their early door transfers were also sensible and clever. I mean, Robinho was their Eden Hazard. Someone who thought he was too big for the club. I mean, you really think he was going to spend his mid-20s listening to what Mark Hughes had to say? A gaffer taken from Blackburn Rovers, and whose next job would be QPR? I mean, it'd be like Vinicius Jr. choosing to take team talks from Chris Wilder. Yeah, I think he's sooner going to be breaking into a farm to strangle pigs. When the City takeover went through in 2008, I mean, yeah, they had their moments of madness. I mean, good Christ, they were initially targeting bids for David Villa, Thierry Henry, Fernando Torres, and Cesc Fabregas, trying to get them all to buy into a club who in their previous match had just conceded 8 to Middlesbrough. Did they really think they were an attractive club? I'm sorry, but if some pot-bellied old man who's got a face that looks like an elephant's arse crack, I mean, does he think he can suddenly win the lottery? And suddenly he's expected to go on dates with Britney Spears? No. I mean, this was September 2008.
Manchester City planned £135 million bid for Cristiano Ronaldo.
Considering at the time, the world transfer record had been 50 million quid, then this headline honestly would have made you barf into your food. Yes, eventually we'd become desensitized to fees like this, and eventually this would be a paycheck tossed away for some nothing potato like Philip Coutinho. But back then, 135 million in 2008 for a football player, it probably made most people who read this feel queasy on the bus. I mean, honestly, imagine being on public transport and reading this, that this was where the sport was heading. I wouldn't have blamed you if you'd had a Joker-style meltdown on the train. Such was their lack of self-awareness. This is a club who tried to sign Gianluigi Buffon. So, let me get this straight. Buffon, despite being a World Cup winner and the greatest goalie in the world, despite him choosing to remain loyal to Juventus in Serie B, you still thought he was going to ditch the old lady to move to a city which stinks of moldy fish and chips and agreed to play behind Tal Ben Haim and Richard Dunn. The lack of self-awareness. But aside from a £100 million bid for Kaká, they eventually learned. In comes Nigel de Jong from Hamburg, Craig Bellamy from West Ham, Wayne Bridge from Chelsea's bench, Shay Given from Newcastle, and Gareth Barry from Aston Villa. Oh yeah, and Adam Johnson from Middlesbrough. Someone who right now is probably cleaning toilets in a nightclub in Durham. I mean that, or selling sausage rolls out of a van and desperately trying not to look at teenagers in the eye. But in 2009, City were signing players from mid-table clubs. The following year, they were ripping Yaya Toure out of Barcelona and buying David Silva and Mario Balotelli, two of the most sought after young talents in world football. So how did they get from A to B? I'll tell you how. When I think of the first mega City signing of intent, I don't think of Robinho, I think of Carlos Tevez. Lads, not only did they take him from their City rivals, but this is a man who just won the Premier League and reached the Champions League final, and was choosing to join a team who finished 10th in the league. I'm sorry, that's like if Gabriel Jesus or Sadio Mane had agreed to move to Newcastle this summer. It was a monster move, and in my head, if Tevez hadn't made the jump, there would be no Torre Silva or Aguero. I mean, this man legitimized the project. I mean, before him, the club were just begging to bring Rocky Santa Cruz from Blackburn, someone who was about as threatening up front as a malfunctioning dishwasher. But when Carlos came, if it's good enough for Tevez, it's good enough for me. And to me, Newcastle need their Carlos Tevez. They need that one insane mega transfer to put this club on the map. Because right now, it's just too sensible and boring. Just too cauliflower. Honestly, right now, you'd swear the club's chairman was Ned Flanders. Just go out there for that one transfer and dream big. Just briefly go insane. But you tell me, who should it be? I mean, right now, it doesn't take the Geordies much to get excited. Because, lads, it's a small city in England, right? I am telling you, if St. James's Park was a 90,000-seater, the club would still sell it out every single week. I mean, last week, 30,000 people queued for just 1,000 extra season tickets. The potential in this city is ridiculous. I mean, for about 10 years, there were fans who honestly would have sooner bitten off a cat's ear than agreed to pay the money through the turnstiles while Mike Ashley was in charge. They were sooner gonna drink orange juice out of their granddad's belly button than agreed to come back to this. But now, lads, this is Barcelona in waiting. Can you imagine the sold out European nights at this ground? I mean, that's what they need to kick it off. They need a monster transfer. But you tell me, who should it be? Neymar? Ciro Immobile? Honestly, Neymar at Newcastle. That would be arguably bigger than Robinho. Of course it would. That would be mouth-watering. Anyways, what do you think? Let me know in the comments. Who should Newcastle sign the big mega money transfer? Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to subscribe, as always. I'll talk to you in a while.